Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Optibotimus coming with another video review. And today we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys MMS 306 of Thor from the Avengers Age of Ultron. Another kind of updated figure that we've got from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thor here really doesn't change too much from what we got with the Dark World version, but there are some fairly interesting new additions to this that really made me curious to check it out. Now for the package, much like all the other Age of Ultron figures, you got the image here in the background with the A here kind of giving a little off color. You can see that this actually does feature something new right on the package, that being the sticker kind of advertising their augmented reality app. Now I'll touch on what that is here in a little bit, but it's actually pretty cool. But you come around here to the side, you got Thor, you can see Mjolnir kind of, or at least the handle there on the side. Come around here to the back, you got the various warnings and things of that nature. This side, you got the foil image of his hammer and then the rest of his arm. And then, much like all the other ones, it just slides up just like so. And then you got a clear window that fully shows the figure and his accessories within. And while the package for this really isn't anything that we haven't seen before, I really do like them. They're simple, they're effective, and they basically get the job done. But for the packaging, that is about it for it. No, I'm sorry, I should come around here. You got the cast and the crew responsible. They're on the back then. There we go. But beyond that, that's about it for the packaging. So without further ado, let's get this guy out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have Thor from Avengers Age of Ultron open up and out of his packaging. And there's a little bit of a mixed sort of feeling that I have for this figure. While it is an improvement and a much more accurate representation of how Thor looks as he's progressed, obviously, through the films, this is coming right off the heels of 2 releases of Thor from the Dark World. And there really isn't a heck of a lot different between those figures and this one. Specifically, the Light Asgardian armor version, which is the one without the armor, I guess. Now, he does come with a few things that really does set this one apart from the previous release. So, taking a look first at the accessories, as you can see, he's got a just standard fist in this hand. He also does come with a right-handed version as well, so you can have him punching. He does have a right hand that obviously I have him holding Mjolnir. He also has a left hand that can do that as well. Then you've got 2 relaxed hands, and then you've got 2 like summoning his hammer kind of hands. So very standard in terms of the hands and things like that. It's basically what we're kind of used to with Thor figures. You do get some extra wrist pegs, but as you can see, I had one in here. It just makes it a little bit easier to swap things out every now and then without actually kind of forcing it. So that's definitely one thing that comes in handy with getting those extra ones. It's not necessarily, oh, I broke one, I have to use it. Well, if you swap out hands a lot, it's kind of nice to have those extra pegs that you can put in a hand that you would use fairly often, so you can get some quick changes kind of going. Now, one of the new things that that he does come with, he actually comes with 2 Mjolnirs. This one right here, as you can see, I do have the lightning effect. I think that's what they're calling it, but you have this little piece right here. You can see that it's specifically shaped right down here to go over the hammer. You could put this on either one of the hammers if you want to, but you do have this. You've got some nice kind of bluish coloring kind of going through there, and then some clear going through as well. Overall, fairly nice looking piece. I don't know how well that's coming across in terms of the coloring, but I do like that actually. To me, I don't think that this looks all that toyish, I guess. And I know a lot of people criticize me when I use the term that these effects make it kind of look like a toy, but I actually think that this works pretty good. Now, as I said, you do get 2 Mjolnirs. Now, as you can see, one is a lot more shinier than the other one, and that's due to the material that's used. This is made out of plastic. This is the die-cast one, so you get a lot more kind of rough-looking edges on there, kind of give it a little bit more of a used kind of look. One thing that I will say, in bringing in the die-cast version from the previous one, I don't know necessarily if this is just changing colors, but it does have a darker tone than the new one does. Like I said, I don't know if that's just because over time maybe it's I don't want to say tarnishing, but you can see here on the top that there is a little bit more scuffage kind of going on here. This is a nicer kind of silver. You can see that the handle is basically the same. You got the nice brown with the silver highlights. You got the very nice silver kind of ornament here on the bottom, and then you got the real leather straps. Now, this is obviously not the die-cast one. It has a little hair on it. Down here on the bottom, there's actually a battery compartment. So when you take this handle and twist it, you actually get a light up effect there. It's not nearly as good with all my lights on here, but it does come across fairly nicely. Turning off some of those lights, you can kind of get a nicer appreciation for it. You can see that it does bleed through very nicely on the side, and then you got this very bright section here where the, you know, lightning would be like blasting out from it or something like that. I actually really like this. This is the first time that we've gotten something like this. And it's cool. Like I said, I mean, you do have the two different options. So if you do want to have the heavier die-cast hammer, you can display it with that. But actually, I think that this one works perfectly well. It's a little bit lighter, so it puts a little bit less stress on the joints. That's one thing that I instantly noticed. But I guess it's personal preference, and you can see that you can actually get some darker black highlights kind of in where the writing actually is. And you can see that the writing around here is a little bit darker than what's on the actual die-cast one. So you can get some color variation in this guy that you couldn't get in with the actual die-cast one. That's just because it's plastic. It's easier to paint this than it would be with the die-cast one. But it's all personal preference, and like I said, you can take this guy, you can put that on there as well. So if you do want to have the lightning effect on the die-cast version, you're very capable in doing that as well. Now, I'm leaving him in this pose because he also does come with, you know, the more common Age of Ultron display stand that actually works in conjunction with their new augmented reality app. So bringing in my phone here, you can see there's Jarvis. Here's the app. You just launch it just like so, and then you got the Hot Toys logo, nothing spectacular. Avengers Age of Ultron, we tap that. It tells you how to play. It's got the various instructions that you just kind of flip through and read. You got a drone for Ultron kind of floating around there in the back. We're going to go next. And you can see there's a couple different, I don't actually know what they're doing, but there does seem to be some upgrades that'll be coming. We have gotten a lot of other, you know, Age of Ultron figures already. I mean, you can kind of see that these ones are locked. That looks like it's Captain America's shield right there. I don't really know who that is. That kind of looks like Iron Man, his arc reactor right there, but you can see that right there is his hammer. So we just tap that, and then it's Thor, and then it shows you, it gives you a little bit of a read up on him. Thor fights to protect his second home, and blah 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 blah. The attack is a lightning strike. So then we tap this, brings up the camera option, and then you see, oh actually, well, you were supposed to, they want you to, let's see, recalibrate. When you first do it, you can see that it shows you the base right there. So then you line this up just like so. It locates the base. Let me see. There we go. And then you locate the hammer for it. And there's the hammer. So change angles. Let's see. I want you to get the... There we go. And then you can see lightning now coming from that, which is really very cool. And coming back here, you can see that it actually puts little drones down there. It puts the lightning effect on there as well. You can see bolts of lightning happening right there. So really very cool how they actually do it. I'm trying to keep it because of the lighting and everything, it kind of throws it off. So you do get that, and then you can just take a picture just like so. And then that's what you're basically left with. Of course, it's going to look terrible because the lighting and everything. But that's the app for it. Now, like I said, it does seem like they're going to have upgrades to it at some point in time. Virtual floor. Oh, you can also change the floor. You can see, I don't know how well it's going to come across. Okay, you can see the white down there. And then you can actually put a floor where it looks like there's, I don't know, like a regular ground. So it does seem like there's gonna be some upgrades to it. Like I said, you got other ones here. I don't know why they haven't made these ones available, because Captain America, a lot of the characters are already out, and it's really hard to see which is which. I mean, that obviously looks like Captain America's shield to me. That kind of looks like it's Thor as well. So you do see that they have some ones that haven't been unlocked yet. I am curious when they're going to do it, because as I said, a lot of the characters are already out. So it is kind of cool how you just take the actual, get him to stand right here. That's one thing that all these Thor figures have in common. Very flimsy ankles, it seems. Okay, stand. So you can see that you just line up the shape with this. It kind of looks at what this is, and that's how you activate the various things. So you do have to use this in order to activate it, I think, but you do have the adjustable cradle right there. And now coming to the figure himself, again, getting this kind of out of the way, we're going to take a look at the figure and his articulation. Like I said, not a lot on this guy is really all that different than what we got with the previous Dark World version of him. I really do wish that they did something with these ankles. They keep it two separate sections. You got a foot section and then this shin section, but it does give him kind of weaker ankles, it seems. I mean, you can see fairly loose, and that's very common on a lot of these Thor figures. Now, for a comparison, I'm gonna try to get him to stand. So, stand Thor. We got Drunk Thor A right here, and here we have Drunk Thor B. Now, the one thing that I will say is that you do get a new head sculpt with the guy. The hair is much different on him. This guy has that open mouth kind of look, which a lot of people didn't like, so you got a more closed mouth right here. You got a lot more gold actually throughout his hair. I think that the new version did a much nicer job of capturing that hair, and you can see he's got this huge tuft of hair just down on the side here. This has a little bit more kind of coming down towards the front, and just honestly just looks a lot better. Now, basically what you have here is a lot of reused parts, but are very different in terms of the coloring. I mean, you can see the armor's basically the same. You got some darker blue highlights where this has a little bit lighter. This is more of a bronzish kind of look, whereas this has a little bit more gold of coloring. But the rest of it is essentially the same. You can see here along the side, you got silver on his pants. This is all just black. The boots, again, are basically the same, although looking at the backs of the boots here, you can see that actually there is a textural difference. This is smooth, whereas this has a little bit of a texture on it. So there is some differences in terms of that. Looking here at the back, again, very similar. Obviously, he's got the cape on. This has the ability where you can swap the cape out, so it's one of those personal preferences. I like having him just acting as if he's just kind of hanging out there and not really fighting or anything. In my full-on Avengers display, where I have all my kind of armored up versions of the characters, I prefer to have the cape look. And then again, the cape looks great. You got this real nice fold kind of going through here. You got these little bits that kind of hang out. I mean, overall, really nice looking piece. It's definitely an improvement over the existing, you know, in terms of the aesthetic. It's basically the exact same. It's just more of an updated color on him, which gives it that more accurate looking film representation. But coming in a little bit closer just to kind of show you the sculpt on him, I mean, I think that is a real great looking likeness. Definitely captures Chris Hemsworth's portrait very, very nicely. I do like this a little bit more just because that previous Dark World one has that slightly open mouth. I think that this just looks a little bit nicer because it's more neutral and it doesn't have to require, you know, an open mouth pose. I mean, this is perfect for him just standing there. If I had him fighting, you know, an open mouth would look perfectly fine. But again, real great detail coming all the way down. I actually don't know if these can remove it. It feels like they can. Yeah, they can. That comes out just like the previous one did. So you can take that off if you wanted to, which is pretty cool. But again, real nice detail all the way through there. You can see that they do use that kind of rubberized material for the arms. This is definitely something that I'm not a very big fan of. I think that overall it looks cool because it doesn't break up, you know, the actual sculpt or anything like that. But I'm just honestly not a very big fan of it. The biggest reason why, I think it looks great if the arms are just down like this, but you can see his bicep is kind of molded in his arm being down. When you make a muscle and you flex up, that then should bulge this up, but as you can see, it doesn't. It just stays straight like this. So if he's going to be sitting there, you know, twisting his arm and making a muscle with it, that section should go up. So that's one of the aspects that I don't particularly like about it. It doesn't give a very realistic look if you're bending the arms. Now, that being the case, I also don't like bending the arms because with this material, I don't know how durable it is. With my previous Dark World Thor, it literally is displayed with his arms down like this so that I don't have to worry about any damage with the elbow. So again, it's personal preference, but when we're paying this much money for these figures, I don't want anything like that. I don't want to give them a reason to deteriorate or anything like that. So speaking of the articulation, you can see that the head is on a nice ball joint. You got a little bit of a neck joint down there at the bottom. The waist section and the ab section, I would imagine, has all the same articulation, but this is a fairly rigid piece, so you're not going to get a lot of flexibility in it. So a lot of poses that would have you twisting his torso or things like that are not going to be able to happen with this. The shoulders, you can see that they are separate from the body, so the actual torso is just the standard kind of hard plastic, but you can see arms rotate, they move in and out like so. They kind of twist in and out, but they tell you not to really twist too much so you can get a little bit of range of motion with it. The elbows move forward, they move back. He does have the standard wrist joints right here that move in and out. They also rotate, come down here to the hips. They can move forward and back, in and out, and then they can also rotate at the upper section. He's got two joints here at the knee, and then you come down to the boots, and then you got a full ball joint here at the actual boot. Again, I really wish that they would. This is a figure that for some reason, I've always had a problem with them standing. They always seem to come with loose kind of ankles, so I'm always constantly having to fiddle with it, although it's going to do it perfectly fine right now. I just always have a problem with it for some reason. But I mean, overall, I'm really very happy with this figure. I think that if people got the Dark World version, you're very likely to not necessarily want to pick this one up. I think that it is a huge improvement over the original one, mostly in the fact that, again, the color on the suit is a little bit more accurate, the head sculpt is much nicer, and I really do like the addition of the light up Mjolnir. I mean, you can get that lightning effect and things like that, and even when you have the light right there, it kind of bleeds up into the actual lightning part, so that's really very cool. Some people are critical about the app. I really don't mind it all that much. I think that it's something different, and it could really appeal to a lot of those collectors that like taking pictures of their figures. I mean, I had a lot of fun when I was just playing with it, taking pictures. It really is only one picture. You have those little creatures kind of down here, and then you got the little lightning bolt stuff. So it's not like it changes all that much. But one thing I am curious to see is how they're going to incorporate it with the other Avenger characters, and whether or not you can use it with a huge diorama, like if you had all the Avengers right there. I mean, I'm really curious to see where they're going to go with it. But really, the app, it just feels like a freebie. It doesn't cost anything to download. It's just kind of there, I guess. But I actually really do like this guy. As I've talked about before, I like having the newest and most accurate representation of the character from the film itself, and this is definitely it. So this is definitely one that I was very curious about, and ultimately, I am not let down at all with it. So if you're interested in picking this guy up, he is available at Sideshow Collectibles. So all you have to do is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to Sideshow where you can check out availability on this, as well as their other Hot Toy Avenger figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus, and until next time, I'll talk to you later.